Oh, from New York, New York, you are listening to Extra Time. I am Andrew Wiebe with my partners in soccer, David Goss. He's back. We have another Calen, the original Calen Carr. Woo!
What up?
Yeah!
What up? Oh, Calen Carr. Oh, Calen Carr.
Love it.
Like that?
By the way,
Calen,
I was listening.
Calen.
I was listening to the show from Monday, and I was just kind of like jotting down some notes, looking at some other stuff, doing some research. And every time you guys called Calen and say, Calen, what do you think on this? I like perked my head up, and I was like, oh, dang, I was not really.
I wasn't ready. I wasn't
prepared.
ready.
I wasn't prepared for this. Yeah.
How many Calens have been in your life?
I mean, it's not many, honestly. I have not met many, which is why this is like very, very strange. They have the only Calens I have met have all been women. So that part's not new, but yeah.
Have you ever met one with your spelling?
No.
We're really diving in here. Where did your spelling and your name come from? If this is too personal,
I don't know. I honestly don't even know. I don't know. I think my mom met somebody at like an ice cream parlor somewhere, and was like, oh, I think it has some sort of like Scottish roots. I have no idea. It's a mystery. I'd like to get to the bottom of it myself.
And you're such a Scotsman, so that makes a ton of sense, that connection.
Exactly.
Welcome back. How does it feel to be on Wednesdays now? You have the Pavlovian thing with Monday, Calen, but you're now, I guess we're recording Wednesdays, and it comes out on Thursday, just to let people know how the sausage is made here. Midweek, Calen, does that feel right to you?
I'm not really a midweek guy, I would say, just generally. Even like training wise, I feel like more of a match day. But
weren't you like an Interliga superstar? Like, didn't you have some big performances in the middle of the weeks?
That's true. There's been a couple. If you
Open Cup,
I was going to say that. Yeah, if you dig deep in the Open Cup,
but you didn't really. I mean, you wanted to be in that situation, but you kind of wanted to use it to maybe elevate yourself to a different situation.
Yeah, CCL, same thing. I was kind of like, well, that's how I knew I like didn't play one match in Houston, and I was like, I made it, guys. I made it. I don't have to play. And then we get through, but you got to be careful overlooking first rounds of CCL, guys. That's
you got to watch out. Josh Wolf, be careful. Prepare your guys for playing a Haitian team in the Dominican Republic with a large tree at one end of the field. Obviously, we're going to talk CONCACAF Champions League. The race has begun, so to speak. 3 games in, more to come this week. We're recording, obviously, on Wednesday, so we don't have the 2 matches on Wednesday and Thursday to talk about. We'll hit those on Monday for you. We will go through our best matches of Matchday 3 in Major League Soccer. Of course, we know, everybody knows, listening at least, that MLS Season Pass is the spot to watch Apple TV. If you are not yet subscribed, you can watch 6 matches for free. But if you would like to subscribe, that would be a good idea probably, because you can watch literally anything you want, anywhere you want, on any device. It's pretty nice. MLS 360, MLS Wrap-Up, all the content being cranked out. It's all there for you. So go ahead and do that. We'll also get into some mail. We have some good team assignments coming in. Those have truly been a hit. So I'm excited to have 2 more assignments made on this show, and
baby names.
Do you have a baby name? I know. Look, it's not just that you're on Wednesdays and that you heard your name on Monday, but you haven't been here for months.
No, I'd like to thank the supporters for sticking with me through this time. Where I wasn't maybe brought into the team sheet, but I think I kept my head down. I kept training. And it's amazing to be here right now.
Do you blame the manager, or where does your ire lie?
I blame Anders. Yeah, basically, he's the brains behind the thing.
That's fair. I blame Anders too.
Anders was looking for loan options. He had said in the media a bit that he was sort of trying to find places to just get you minutes, but he's really glad that you stuck with things so that you could be brought back into the team when necessary.
Yeah, he didn't want to pick up any of your salary on the flip side. So whoever it was going to have to pick up all the money. Just the cap hit was tough for the show to deal with. But you've shown a great attitude. And I think at this point, we've seen your form really rise. And when you get your opportunity, we'd like you to grab it by the microphone, please.
No pressure. No pressure.
Yeah, 100%. By the way, Dave's wearing the Colorado Rapids New Day kit today to support mental health awareness. So the club is leading multiple initiatives throughout this season to promote and support mental health, which is, massively important. I think all of us, whether in our own lives or the people close to us, have experienced either a mental health crisis in our life, or just not even a crisis, just like, hey man, I'm struggling a little bit, or I've got something on my mind that I can't seem to shake. So props to the Rapids for putting that kit out. I've got it in my pile of kits over here. It occupies a prime position, Dave. Congratulations for getting the call to wear the Colorado Rapids New Day kit today.
Thank you. Shout out to Omar Gonzalez for sending it to me. And as you mentioned, they're also connecting with it some of the numbers that are going on in Colorado and the lack of support there is, and the overwhelming number of people who need it. So it's a really good initiative from them. I would like to potentially propose you have a stack of my jerseys in there as well, because you are in a house and I'm in an apartment. So I could deliver those to you at any point. If
you're going to bring me some?
Yeah, I'll bring you all of mine, and I will leave them there until I need them. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Is there a reason for this other than
I have no space? I live in a one-bedroom apartment.
Yeah, all right.
Look at all that room behind we do.
And it's right?
Just acres. I just got
the echo.
I got acreage in this place, man. Like we might throw in an organic garden down in this basement just to keep things fresh. I am rocking the new LA Galaxy kit that honors the city in LA's history by embracing the colors of the city flag. I've got Ricky Puig on the back of this thing. I'm wearing this jersey, the Ricky Puig jersey. I probably can create as much as Ricky Puig did against FC Dallas in this jersey, which is unfortunately for the Galaxy very little. So we need to see more from you, Ricky, as well as Galaxy defenders. I defend very similarly to the Galaxy center backs. Did you see Ricky though? He awarded one or presented one to Pau Gasol yesterday because Pau Gasol got his jersey retired. And obviously he's Spanish.
Barca, right?
Yeah, but good Calen boys right there.
Yeah. Right. So Ricky went. Think about Ricky Puig, how he compares to MLS players on size and height. Yeah. And then add in an NBA Hall of Fame center. Like it looked like Pau Gasol was just completely bent over to try and hold the other half of that jersey with Ricky. So it was good times. He's very bored in LA. So they had to find something.
Nothing happening. Certainly nothing in his life that would invigorate him or stimulate him mentally or emotionally. But he's doing his thing. LA Galaxy in action this weekend. We'll talk about that in a second. Maybe another signing for the Galaxy. Remember, you can get all the new kits at MLSstore.com. We've said it before. It's the best crop of kits we've seen in this league in a long time, maybe ever. So, let's jump into it. CONCACAF Champions League. It's back, baby. Tigres, Orlando City, El Volcán. It was a challenge for Orlando. I said before this game that was good for the Lions and Oscar Pareja because they have been practicing for a 0-0 draw in Major League Soccer. By God, they went down there and got a 0-0 draw. Massive, massive result, Dave. The stat is this. The number is 6. That is just the 6th clean sheet in 69 matches for MLS teams away against Mexican opposition in the CONCACAF Champions League /Cup. Nice. What'd you think of this one?
It was, as you said, the thing that Orlando perfected in doing it at a high level. I think we saw a lot of the pieces in Orlando be able to do what they do best. Pedro Gallese, I thought, was phenomenal in this game. That's a World Cup goalkeeper. And when he's on, he's a match winner. The diving save on the header from Samir was, sort of one of those moments. That and the Gignac volley in the second half, which was like classic, right? They came in, they played really well in the first half. You could argue there was moments where they could have taken the lead. Then I cannot get over the fact that VAR is now in CCL and Orlando got CONCACAF'd, because for the first time maybe ever, the Liga MX team got CONCACAF. Gignac got a red card.
Well, it was like a reverse. It was a reverse CONCACAF because
exactly. But finally VAR is in, and now it comes back around against the MLS.
Take it away. We don't want it anymore.
Exactly. Think of all the years when MLS teams got CONCACAF and there was no VAR, and now it's finally there. So Gignac staying on the field for that one. But in that second half, Gallese stepped up big. I thought Pereira was awesome in this game, and he has really accepted the conversion to a number 8 from a number 10. No longer a DP, doesn't really have the legs and danger to be a true chance creator, but I thought he set the tone in midfield for a lot of this game. They dealt with injuries, they dealt with a bunch of substitutions, and a crazy talented team. Like Tigres is bringing guys off the bench that would be DP signings in Major League Soccer, and they were able to maintain it. reports are that Gignac won't travel with the team to Orlando. So they set the stage. Like, this is, as you just read, a historic result and genuinely sets the stage for them to be able to get through from this round. And I think we talked about it a little bit a few weeks ago, but for Oscar Pareja to go down to Mexico, where he had coached for a little and maybe hadn't gone the way he wanted at the end, and sort of put that performance on, I thought was a really cool moment for him.
Anders in the chat.
Yeah, I know.
The heartbreak is so clearly coming. We have some new listeners, and I realized that, and it's awesome. Welcome. We would love to have you. But I had some people tweeting at me as I was just pumping out free space memes during the Austin game. And they're like, hold on. What is free space? Like, explain this to me like I'm a kindergartner. And I was like, oh, yeah, people probably were not paying attention. What is it, 7 or 8 years ago, probably, Dave, that we did CCL bingo? Would it be?
Yeah, maybe that long.
Like, maybe, I don't know, however long it was. And free space is disappointment. So that's the joke, is that every MLS team, every game you watch with an MLS team in CCL, if you're playing bingo, you mark out, whether it's you're going for lines or blackout or four corners or whatever else, you just always mark out free space of disappointment because it's coming for you. And it may be coming for Orlando City, but they just got to win at home. I do think they were fortunate, which you need to be to get the shutout in Mexico, especially in Estadio Universitario against Tigres. There were a couple moments in that first half. Gignac had one. There was another one I'm spacing on who had it where it was like good shooting position, like prime goal scoring position, where we're just used to Mexican teams being like cash money, like you done, like we're about to run away with this thing. Like hit right at Gallese.
Yeah.
But it takes luck, man. It takes luck.
That's going to happen too. You know that Tigres is going to create opportunities at home. You know, with the quality they have, Gignac, like, you know, you're going to have to survive at times going down there and playing in Mexico. And so and really anywhere in CONCACAF Champions League. So I was really impressed by Orlando City. I thought this was an incredible performance for this phase of the season, especially, and sets them up really well going home. Gignac, of course, he hasn't been exposed to Schlegel. He doesn't understand. That experience, he just wasn't ready for it. It's hard to know until you go up against it. But I actually do think that is part of, like, Schlegel's the perfect piece to come in to that type of environment because he's experienced. Nothing is going to shock him. He knows how to win those small margins.
Do you see what he did on the almost red card where he's like falling down and then Gignac kind of runs in and then he's like gets the arm over on the head and he's like, I'm not grabbing you, but this is completely incidental contact as I like quasi headlock you.
Not get caught with video review and anything serious.
Held his chin. Yeah. After Gignac clearly pushed him just a little bit in the chest, he's like getting his chin checked out by the trainer. He's like, I don't know, maybe right here, like the jawline. I think he got me on the jawline.
Yeah, but I think and then it also goes back to Oscar Pareja too, who I think that's part of the reason they're in this tournament. I think that they're good in knockout rounds. Like when they get up in these types of environments, they know how. They have experienced players. They have a lot of personality. Sometimes it can be right on that edge of things, but they kept their calm, but also met the moment with the energy they needed in the game. Had a couple good looks. Ojeda had one from the top of the box where they get a turnover. So I think, they did enough, but to go down to Mexico and to come out alive and not even at a deficit, that's a huge result.
You bring on Felipe Martins just to, if you have that Schlegel energy, like we got to get Felipe on, like we're up in the ante here. What I'll also say defensively, like you look at the back line, we'll praise Schlegel. Robin Jansen's one of the best center backs in this league, Pedro Gallese. But I thought most impressively was that Poppy went with Holiday and he went with Petrasso in those outside back positions where Tigres is going to have, crazy talent, 1v1 ability, like game changers. And those guys held their own and didn't get exposed. So I think for the rest of the season, that's a good sign.
And like, Bob Bradley wouldn't play Petrasso because he wasn't safe enough, and now he's like the safe option for Pareja. It's changed a lot in a year, and it shows what professional experience can do for you, but it also shows like why this is one of those things we've talked about a lot that can be exciting, which is he was probably in the wrong spot, and like now his career can grow in Orlando because this is a better role for him. There's trust there. There's a relationship clearly being built, so that's really exciting.
Daniel Cluley hit us up and said, can Orlando City advance in CONCACAF Champions League without scoring a goal? The old RSL model. What do you guys think?
No, I don't think so. I mean, even if Gignac doesn't come, you would think you're going to need a goal to get past. I think Tigres just has too much firepower. You would expect Gallese was big, but to expect him to hold a shutout throughout 2 legs, I think is a little bit too much to ask. I think they'll feel more comfortable coming back. I think we'll see more of an offensive approach to the game. So I do think they need to get a goal to get through.
Who would it be, Dave? Who would you bet on to get a goal for Orlando? Who's the most likely option? It's not going to be Erkan Carr if he doesn't start. Which
No.
we could dive into that if you want.
I mean, quite honestly, the assumption is it would be set pieces and one of the center backs like that. The attack right now, Ojeda is showing some quality, not decision making, not finishing, but like balls at his feet. It's hard to get it off him. He can clearly strike a ball, so he would be the obvious one in this scenario. And they're trying all the options everywhere else, right? Gaston Gonzalez gets his opportunity. Ivan Angulo gets the start. Obviously, you have Facu. Like, there's talent in there. It's a lot of young talent, which was sort of my fear coming into the season.
Ramiro Enrique was the forward for them. Yep.
And it's like none of these guys have ever carried an MLS team attack before. Now, a lot of that is because many of these guys have never played in MLS, which isn't easy. And playing in Liga MX is also not easy. And playing against the Liga MX team, if you've never done it before, is a whole new experience. So that's part of some of the concerns. But you have the base now to say, we can sort of decide how the game will be played out in that second leg, and they should be dangerous on set pieces. Schlegel's an option. Robin Jansson's an option. Antonio Carlos, if he can be healthy, is as well.
Torres is the one for me. I think he's the one in big moments. He's found goals. He seemed to get stronger as the season went on last year. Whether it's from the penalty spot or from somewhere else, I think Torres would be the one I would be looking for, most likely to get one.
Do they get through? Anders said the heartbreak. It's clearly coming. It's what we're all used to. I mean, I'm not going to believe until the final whistle blows. What are the odds you would put on this? Them getting through? Let's do percentage chance, because we don't do that well with understanding odds on this show.
I'll say 50.
Really?
And saying that is, as a home team, it should be more. It's not, because it's a Liga MX team.
Well, it's not just any Liga MX team.
For sure. But if Gignac's not there, it is a different team. It's just, it does feel like this is what Oscar Pareja is great at, which is finding the extra 5%, guiding a team through a moment like this, having young players believe in themselves. And I believe in the atmosphere at Exploria Stadium as well. If they were down any scoreline, I don't think I'd say the same, but I think the confidence they've taken from that first leg, on top of the results, on top of the time of the season, like they'll have 4 games under their belt at that point. This feels less of a drastic first game is before you've even played an MLS game. Now you're 1 game in and you're already on short rest. This feels like a decent moment for them to do it. So I'm gonna show a little confidence because, Garth Lagerwey told me immortality, like believe in yourself.
They also haven't looked that great in the regular season yet. So if you would ask me just based on their MLS play, I would have not said 50-50 chance. And so this game, I think, pushed them way further forward in my eyes as to say why this team is much better in a knockout format than even potentially throughout a full season. And if you said, all right, second leg, you come home, you got 50-50 chance against Tigres coming in, I would say, yeah, you'd take that. So I think that sounds about right.
Now, I am not saying they're going to go to the final. I am just saying in the second leg against Tigres, I think if they have Pachuca in the next round, it's a whole new conversation again. If they end up with Leon after that, or maybe Violette, who we've seen be very dangerous, that's another conversation. I'm just talking about the one game.
How about this?
Shoot us down. Tell us it's not possible.
It's not 50-50. It's for sure not 50-50. It's 30-70. Like in a hopeful, being hopeful, it's 30-70.
Okay.
Like
you asked me the question. I'm gonna give you an answer.
Yeah, it's 50-50 in terms of like, well, there's 2 sides of a coin, and if you flip a coin, it could land on either side for sure. Right. But in terms of
coin theory, I like coin theory.
Yeah, coin theory, exactly. Right. If you are Oscar Pareja, what do you do this weekend at DC? Because they rested home against Cincy. I think you have to rest but you have to find a way to get some of your attacking sequences to be sharper. And I don't feel like necessarily that's going to happen just in training. So what would you do?
I would rest as well. I think you have to prioritize Champions League, especially after you've already just put in so much to survive this result down in Mexico. Antonio Carlos is a question mark as far as where he's at, as far as his return. I don't know where he is. I don't think he was training last I saw. I think they were sort of being cautious with him. But I would be, as much as we celebrated Schlegel, I think did well, Antonio Carlos and Janssen together is a much more formidable pair. So I think trying to get guys healthy, doing everything you can, as you mentioned, you'd hope somebody gets a goal, gets a little bit of confidence going heading into it. But I think whatever you do, you need to put your best foot forward in this second leg.
I think the back line, you should see something similar to what you saw against Cincinnati. So a ton of rotation. I'd even rotate Gallese just to protect him. In the attack, I think, as you said, like you're trying to work on some stuff, and a lot of these guys are young. So if there's a balance there of like maybe Facundo Torres needs the game just to like get more minutes and start to feel comfortable and get in the flow. And let's be real, if you're trying to get your attackers going, it seems like DC is a decent team to try and do some of that again. So I think it'll be mix and match. But the beauty of 5 subs is, you have flexibility even if guys start. You should be able to manage the minutes.
You can make 3 at the break and still have 2 left over. Yeah, for sure. What I want to see from Facundo Torres, and I think when he's in those possession moments, like in a triangle on the right flank, he's so slick, especially when Pereira comes over to be with him. They're just not finding ways to get him going towards goal or going like in behind in assist positions or in goal. I just don't see him in goal dangerous or like goal scoring chance dangerous positions very much early on. So I'd like to see him figure that out. Seems like Ojeda's been better at that, but
it's not easy when you're 3-on-1 and Ojeda pulls up from 40.
That's true.
Doesn't help. Yeah,
it's tough. Okay. Actually, I'll save this for the mailbag. We don't need to dig too much into Orlando here at the top. When we have Austin's free space defining loss in the Dominican Republic to the Haitian champions Violette, 3-0, 2 absolute just dunk headers in the first half. Miche Nader Sheri on Emro Tarek, who is rotating into the center back. I mean, just dunks, like hanging on the rim, tongue out, like Larry Johnson jams. Powerful.
Maybe this is your moment. So whatever you want to say.
It's not my moment. It's all of our moment. I share this moment with
not
Austin.
Involved in this.
Truly welcome to Major League Soccer, Austin. Welcome to the CONCACAF Champions League. This is the first Haitian club to win a match in the CONCACAF Champions League in the modern era. Arch Bell, the legend, hooking us up with that stat.
This is football heritage.
Yes. Yes, indeed it is, Anders. So they're playing the Dominican Republic because the facilities
Speaking
in
of
Haiti
heritage, what was the other big result in the past? It was in CCL. I think New England went down and lost.
I remember Sporting KC lost to...
what are we talking about right now?
Independiente, Panama's Independiente. And I think Toronto got slapped by a Panamanian team. I want to say Taro probably beat somebody.
Yeah, Omar Brownie, obviously.
Yeah, beat the britches off somebody.
Wait, I thought Calen was doing a bit.
No, I wasn't. No, we were just going through football heritage.
Well, New England was up 3-0 on Pumas last year.
Yeah,
and went down for the second leg and lost.
Than that. I'll look it up.
We'll find it for you. So anyway, they're playing the Dominican Republic because the facilities in Haiti aren't up to CONCACAF's standards, and not a huge crowd. But look, the Haitians brought a contingent. They had a sick band going on early on, really like carrying the environment. There was a massive tree behind one goal. I mean, when I say massive, I mean like one of the most beautiful trees I've ever seen. Like a true, arborists are watching this. Yeah, true homeowner. Arborists are watching this being like, what is that tree? Can I visit that tree? Like definitely a tree that people have sat in to watch games from a wonderful vantage point. There was a double-sized ladder standing up against like a temporary building, which no need for a ladder that tall, but those were ominous omens for the Oaks, as some, not me, might call Austin FC. Austin has talked a lot about where they're trying to be and where they're trying to go and how they're going to compete in multiple competitions. And they reached for the sky and were struck by lightning, basically. So here's a quote from Josh Wolf after this nightmare of a match in the DR. And Sebastian Driussi and Jesse's artist, by the way, weren't available, didn't dress. Wolf rotated the squad. Quote, I take responsibility for not having these guys mentally in the right space. CONCACAF is a different animal. We talked about it. We tried to emphasize it. We have some of that experience inside the group, but I have to create more tension in their minds in understanding what this game is going to look like. It's going to be dramatic. It's going to be difficult. It's going to have ebbs and flows. We talked about that at length, but I didn't do a good enough job getting them ready. That is on me, and they were not ready.
We've talked about this a couple of times. You've played across the continent. Like we just heard, a Haitian team has never won in the modern era of this competition. What is the missing piece here of understanding your favorites, but also the challenge of traveling and playing a team you don't know? Like, how does this happen, sort of, is the question.
First of all, I just looked up this tweet from Arch Bells where I saw it, and he said, Austin FC are nearing 2008 New England Revolution Joe Public TNT territories. Last time a Caribbean team beat an MLS team 4-0 in the CCL, although that loss came at Foxborough. So I did see that. It was a deep cut.
It's a good Joe Public reference right there.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think we've gotten to this point in Seattle. We all saw their trophy being handed to them. Weeby, a moment that will live in history for both of us.
In infamy.
Weeby was excited about it.
So, and I think from then on, everyone was just like, you know, not for the new listeners, but just in general, we're all kind of like, oh yeah, it was just us in Liga MX, and you know, we're going.
Yeah, and like the tide is turning against Liga MX too. We're starting to win a ton of those games.
Orlando's going to go down and get a result. And now Goss and I are both like, it's 50-50 in the second leg. Let's go, you know.
Delusional.
And I think the real true story is this tournament is not just about Mexico and US and Canada with MLS. Like, we're going to have that in Leagues Cup. This is a different thing altogether because of the rest of the countries that are a part of this. And I've gone to some of these places, go to Honduras, you go to Panama. It is so difficult to get a result. I've gone down to Panama, I played against Arabia Unido, lost there, eliminated. It's brutal. It's tough. Like, you're playing on turf, which you'd be used to, but still, it's like the atmosphere is different than anywhere else. Like, you saw it in this one. I mean, by the way, the music track playing behind watching the whole game just gave me just such. It was sort of a dissonance though, because it was just like, you're like, wow, this is a disaster, but it was just such
to Carnival.
It's
like a disaster to Carnival. You're like, oh, I can't help it. I like this. Yeah,
it was just great. But it can make it like, you know, it's just not something you're used to. And you're playing against players that you can scout, but you don't really have the familiarity with. And I think it's why it's such a good tool for international play and players getting exposed to these environments, because I know going down there for myself, I had to learn the hard way. And then even at home, sometimes when we play in Houston, we play against Olympia and it was an away game. And that atmosphere was something that you had to like get used to. But if you don't show up, because for the other teams, it's the big, you know, it's one of the biggest matches they're going to play in too. And I don't care if you're what name, you know, Austin FC or LA Galaxy, or I guess not for them. No disrespect, Weeby. But
yeah, not a lot of recent CCL.
But yeah, that's like that. So you have a target on your back. It's totally different. Going down there and that extra bit of motivation from the other team. And if you show up without your full attention and guys are like, well, I'm playing on this weekend, or I'm not getting my opportunity, or if you have any sort of doubts or thoughts like that, it can turn against you real quick. And honestly, I thought Austin was lucky to get out of there with just 3. It could have been worse.
Super fortunate.
There was like one play where Goni makes a run back where it looked like they're breaking in very late. And I was like, they need to just get out of here with 3 just to give themselves a chance to come back. And then the way I would approach the second leg is you break it down into quadrants. Like, you break it down into 15.
We have to win 1-0 the first 15.
Yeah. They'll probably be okay if they get 1 before half.
If we're being
quadrants. Yeah, we gotta work on that. But I think if they get 1 before half, that would be the marker, and then you give yourself a chance to push with that crowd behind you in the second half.
Let me take you through the lineup, because this is not a team. If you watch the match, you can tell this is not a team that has hardly any familiarity with each other, just on the field, relationship based, etc. And Wolf said as much, especially about his center back tandem after this. So you have Lundqvist on the left, Emre Tarek, who was signed as like a breaking case of emergency, earlier this preseason. Nick Lima playing next to him at center back. Hector Jimenez at right back. Sofiane Jafal, who they traded for from DC this offseason. Johan Valencia, who got an early hook. Rodney Redes, the U22 that they signed early on in their life as an MLS team that has just played very little. Diego Fagundes, Ethan Finley, and then Maxi Arruti. That is your team. The Amro Tarek experiment in this match went extremely poorly. I already sort of laid it out for you. Sherry, dunked on him twice, like Sean Bradley style, like posterizations. And then, Dave, help the people at home visualize this own goal.
It's actually one of the better saves you'll see from Brad Stuber.
Brad Stuber made it makes it even better. He
to create it. So it's a ball across and then a header, and the header's going back to the near post. So Stuber coming across the goal, puts his right hand out, is able to stop it. And then Amro Tarek, it falls behind him, facing his own goal, sort of, except his body actually isn't facing the goal. It's like it's at a 90-degree angle, and he tries to just hook the ball out of play. Like probably for a throw in, maybe a corner kick, doesn't really care.
But also not really under a ton of, there's like not
under no pressure.
No incoming pressure.
Yeah. Except that the ball's in the 6 and he's already falling for some reason. And he basically slices it underneath the ball and it curls off into his own goal. Did it bounce before it went in or bounce once?
No. It was a half volley laser beam.
Yeah.
And Stuver, you can sort of see the terror in Stuver's eyes as this is happening. And he makes the save and he kind of falls back into his own net. But then you can see him sort of be like, oh God. he tries to stick his leg out.
I can't believe you guys are breaking this down like moment by moment. Like I get the like.
I've watched it so many times. It's mesmerizing. Is
it the worst own goal you've ever seen?
No, I went back and just watched some videos. Kai Kamara literally like dunk headered a goal into his own for the Rapids a couple years ago. It looks like the best finish in the world until you realize it's his own goal. And there's also a Miles Robinson one where Robinson, literally just half volleys it into his own net on a ball across the 6. I remember
that one. Yeah.
This is incredible in a lot of ways. And like the context is what makes it incredible too, is that, Tarek has sort of been thrust into the lineup for Kip Keller, who you would expect to have started, but then he had the disaster against St. Louis. And then Tarek has this disaster. And by the way, Amro Tarek got hurt and came off with a muscle injury. So
it's rough.
Like they're already down to Nick Lima and Amro Tarek.
Yeah. And it looked disjointed too. Like if you're right to talk about the finishes, which are great finishes, both of them.
Both headers are as authoritative as a header as can be.
But I was kind of surprised because Nick Lima, you mentioned, is playing center back, but I think on both of those he's way out wide, trying to put pressure on the ball to stop the service. Doesn't do a good enough job to stop the service to begin with, and he is way out of position in that sense because it's not a traditional center back, he's right back. And you can just see how these small things where you play one player at one position, you have to switch. We've seen Ring play in the middle, in the back. They're now trying Tarek, like Kip Keller. It's just been a lot of like a crisis of confidence, number one, continuity. And for me, center back is a relationship position. It's a position that you need to have that security. You need to have that partnership, similar to strikers or other parts on the field, center midfielders, understanding. But I think especially for center backs, finding guys that have that, the teams that I'm watching early in the season that have that kind of good partnership. I just went and called the New England game. You see like Romney and Kessler, like the two of them, just they're new together, but they were able to form a partnership right away. I just think like the clubs that are having success to come into the season and playing across multiple competitions without reliable center backs, you're seeing what's happening right now for Austin. And it's just caused them, to just like try and like plug a hole. And every time you plug a hole, like another one opens up and but I think the service was a big problem for them because once they get the ball wide and you allow those runners to make space there, you saw what they could do with it.
I think it'll be Viesenin and Ring in the league at RSL this weekend. And you would assume Ring and Visanen, next week in Austin, assuming we don't know what's going to happen here. The technical director of Violete, incredible performance. Again, we can't emphasize that enough. We sort of harped on the Austin side because we're an MLS podcast and we talk about MLS teams. And in our world, that's the big story. But, Archibald said it. This is the first time this has happened in the modern era of this competition. They did it in the DR. They did it against a team that is obviously much fancied. I think the odds, again, we're bad at odds, plus 2,200 Austin win, I believe.
Wow.
Plus 2,200 for a Violete win.
Yeah.
So, huge. The books are saying there's no chance, essentially, that this is going to happen.
The books are who? Via what?
Yeah, you give us the money and we keep it. That's what they're saying. And then they are decisive winners. And honestly, better across really every part of the game.
Credit to them. What is the chances? What's going on with this second leg? Because I know there's some issues with the visa.
So we'd heard about this before we ever played this first leg, that there were going to potentially be visa problems. The
rumor was they were just going to cancel the tie.
Yeah. The technical director of Violete said in a press conference after the match, and this is via Twitter, it's from an account that's covering the team now. So I can't speak this is not fact. This is just sort of the conjecture and some of the context afterwards, is that currently there are 12 people eligible to travel for the return leg between the players and the managers. So I've heard some people say, again, this is mostly conjecture. We'll have to see when the actual facts and reports come out from CONCACAF and the clubs, that they're looking to perhaps maybe even delay to try to get those visas. But I hope it all, what I know is that I hope it all comes off. I hope that Violete is able to bring their full contingent, or as many people as they can, enough to certainly give themselves the chance that they've earned to advance against Austin in Austin, the chance that they've earned through their club play to qualify, and then also in this leg one to go to Austin with a chance to win, to just play in that environment and to challenge themselves there, to have that opportunity as people and professionals. I hope that this is able to happen.
We saw, I think last year, New England was supposed to play the Haitian champion and it ended up being canceled because they could not get visas. There are some extenuating circumstances I can understand, but what are we doing if CONCACAF isn't just organizing this the moment the teams are qualified and taking the brunt of handling these situations and gaining experience with the immigration process in all these countries, so that you then have a background of experience to tap into every single year you have to do this, because spoilers, Champions League happens every single year. And that's the part that seems really frustrating, is this is a team, it's technically semi-pro at a level. I'm not shocked that there isn't maybe the experience in our front office to deal with this, but I don't know.
Look at how hard it is for these MLS clubs to get visas done in time for the season. Look all across Major League Soccer, there are players that are not available, or just got cleared, or spent 2 weeks in Argentina, or spent 2 weeks in Europe, and are now bouncing back to the team and trying to reintegrate. It's hard. It's a complicated process to begin with full-fledged staff working
in your country, in your language that you operate in. And it just feels like every single year, to the point where, why is this not a part of, you want to revamp Champions League, you want to add Nations League, you want to add all this stuff, bring in money, start 3 host nations of a World Cup coming up on the men's side. All of this is happening. Building the region is the point for all of it. And that's what the reason that CONCACAF Champions League expansion makes sense. It's why Nations League I'm a fan of. I think it's a good competition. Is it the best competition every single time the U.S. men's national team, Mexico and Canada plays? Maybe not, but your role as part of a community is building that community. And so it just feels like there's this gap here that no one has stepped into to deal with. And there are players in the region who can be of service, and I don't really know what they're doing.
I agree. The other thing I was thinking about as you were going through that is, look, for Violete, they weren't able to host this match. They won this match in a stadium that is not their own. Their fans were traveling fans, just as any Austin supporter who was there was a traveling supporter. If you can't play this in Austin because your opponent can't come, we don't have to play it in Austin.
Yeah.
Right? Why do we have to play it in Austin? They didn't get home field advantage, and they just slapped Austin up. Why couldn't we just play this in the DR again? Like, run it back.
Now, if
just for the purity of competition, I completely understand Austin's going to hear that, their ownership group, their club, their managers, their players, their fans, and be like, no, we earned this too, and I completely get that. But like, from a competitive standpoint,
well, we've talked about this with Open Cup too, right? Of like, you have some level of responsibility to help that team get to you, but the other part of it is, and this is not on Austin, is like,
none of this is on Austin, by the way. This is on the Confederation.
Yeah, if you told me that CONCACAF did everything and said you just need to sign this paperwork and send it in, and that never happened, okay, I could understand. Like, there's space to say, well, actually, the responsibility is on this team, so Austin shouldn't be, losing a home game because of that. But that would be a decision you'd like CONCACAF to have all the information to make. And every time we come and do this, it feels like there is no decision being made, and it is just muddled in chaos up until the final second, where then a forced decision has to be.
Austin needs that home game. If they want to advance, they need that home game. If you tell me they play again in the DR, I don't think they get through. I just don't think I don't see that for them. But if you play at home, you get that crowd behind you. I think it can make a big difference. They rested Drusi, no Jossie. They have some pieces. They have to figure out the back line, but still, you'd figure if they get that home game, they have a legitimate chance. So I think they need that home game, just even for like forgetting the wanting to have the fans. I'm talking just like to get through to the next round, to have a chance.
So would you 50-50? What do you think?
I hate this, man. I'm just going to pick whatever Goss does. No, I think they could get through. I still would back Austin to get through, to find a way to get through at home. But they've built themselves a nice mountain to climb. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, they piled it up real nice. All right, the other game on Tuesday night, Alianza, Philadelphia Union. Of course, Alianza, the El Salvador champions, and Fido Zelaya, the legend, LAFC, the national team, just coming back from a month's suspension for fighting, which is just, the most Rodolfo Zelaya thing I've heard. But like, the highlight from this scoreless draw is probably the very good dog who came on the field and put in a really nice tackle. Looks like he has the technical ability to probably play center mid, like, awareness on all sides, keeps the ball close.
Was stoked to be carried off the field, like, just super happy about it. No negative reaction. That's what you want in a team player, right? When the manager's like, it's not your time anymore, we're going to make a sub.
Yeah,
just
clapping,
claps for the crowd,
2 high fives for the next.
So I was at a pub last night. I went and played in like my Tuesday night run, and a couple of guys went to the bar afterwards, and we asked them to switch the channel to put on Champions League.
We or you?
My whole crew. Yeah, people are. That was the plan coming in. So we went and we missed. It was this game was on, and it was a big Knicks crowd, which I know you'll appreciate. And they were watching.
Tough night for the
another heartbreaking loss. Yeah,
not another.
Okay, respect. But yeah, they were like these. It was great to watch. Honestly, for me, just to watch Knicks fans when a dog ran out on the field react to what was happening, and just like to get a look at and I was like, yeah, this is how we do it. This isn't that weird. So this is pretty standard. It's part of the game,
It's a very good dog and a very smart, mature performance on the road for the Union. Jim Curtin rotated. He put a lot of the young bucks in there. Chris Donovan and Quinn Sullivan up top. They created enough to score, but
question then: if Jim puts out a young lineup, right, and says go out and do it, and they get a good result and come back, but then Austin does it, why is it that Austin's not taking it seriously, but Jim and Philadelphia are taking it seriously?
Well, because his players were up to the moment.
Yep. Okay, so that's fair. I agree with that. I'm just saying I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think that Austin didn't take it seriously. If I look at that lineup and I see the players that are out there,
I agree with you, by the way. I think Josh was absorbing blame from his players, which he needs to do
ultimately, if the players don't perform, that falls on the manager. But when I look at that lineup, yes, I know not everyone was in their places, but you tell me you have Arruti, you have Fagundes, you have Finley. Lima, you have players that have a ton of experience in Major League Soccer, and so Lundqvist, good player, hasn't gotten a ton of time yet, but he has experience in MLS. I'm like, to me, it's not that Austin didn't take it seriously. And that's where I think of the Union have a little bit more set way, I think, of how they want to play. There's clear expectations maybe for this system and how they're going to apply it. And I just thought the young guys came in and they can like Jim can trust those guys to come in. And they know they're going to be willing runners. There's not going to be a lack of like, yeah.
So I disagree with both of you in different aspects. I disagree, Andrew, with the term young. I don't think it was young. I think it was rotated. Damian Lowe is not young. Okay, yeah, Andres Pereira is a national team player.
Yeah, I was thinking, but he is young.
Yeah, for sure. But a fair amount of them are experienced, which is one side of this, which is Philly built depth that Austin doesn't have. Calen, I would also argue Austin has a pretty defined style. I think these two teams may have the most committed style, but it has taken Philly years to find all the pieces that fit into it. And Austin hasn't had the same amount of time, right? Mm-hmm. So when you look at Philly, like they didn't have a backup center back last year, right? They went out and got Damian Lowe, who they think is the guy that fits them as their third center back, where Austin is still coming off a year one mistake sort of build in places, still sort of building the plane as it flies. And I think that's where for Austin, you struggle to get the performance without Driussi is in there, without Danny Pereira in there, without some of the guys who set the tone, because not everyone's on that same page, where for Philly, they've had years of building an academy so that Jack McGlynn is a guy who knows how they play when he steps into a team. So I think that's slightly the difference for me. Okay. But to your point, and I think what Weeby's saying is that is where the mental side of the way Austin reacted to the game is even under a larger or bigger microscope, because Philly, besides the fact that they have, I think, better pieces, and, you know, Joaquin Torres has started CCL games for Montreal last year, like they have those options. They also treated it like the game mattered and that they had to perform to get a result.
Only thing I'll say is I take issue with the idea of teams not prioritizing it, because when we see Seattle winning the title and then what happened to them as a result, and we see consistently what CCL does to a team, to not rotate your roster and give guys opportunities and have to expect them to respond is just a part of it. We're not at the place yet where you can just fly out your 11 and you've got, the next Driussi behind him waiting to step in. Like, it's just not, we're not at that place yet. Especially when you think of what has kind of happened to Austin early in the year. They're kind of already on unstable ground. And so the idea is you have to make some tough decisions as far as your lineup decisions go. I just think that's still a reality of MLS, and that falls into some of the conversation around like, oh, this team's not taking it seriously or not. And it's like, no, you have to make changes to survive this.
I completely agree with you, Calen. The other thing I would say is, like, I hope we're at the point where teams like Austin or teams that qualify for CONCACAF Champions League, because you're supposed to be one of the best teams in the league, you earned it via, the past that we know. It's not just like, oh, hey, Austin, you had cool crowds and like Matthew McConaughey pounds on bongo drums. Like, that would be tight if you went into CCL. It's like, no, you had to earn that via your play on the field. You should be able to look to a partially first team, mostly second team, and say, you guys can play competently in this match. Like, again, all respect to Violette, all respect. A Haitian team had never won a game in this competition. They were playing in the Dominican Republic. You should expect that you can go and like be competent in that moment with your second team. And I think the institutional knowledge is part of this too, to what we're talking about here, Dave, as well, with the Union. I think you're spot on in the sense, like, yeah, they might be younger pieces and they might be XYZ, and Quinn Sullivan's 18, but like the club itself and Jim Curtin as a manager also has institutional knowledge of this competition, and maybe that makes it easier, as Josh Wolf was saying.
Been in it before.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Jim played in the Superliga, baby.
Pass on the tension and to be like,
Austin didn't exist. They could not have played in CCL.
Sure, it's not an excuse for Austin. I'm just saying that is a big difference. Is that your club has that institutional knowledge.
9 years of a second team to build players through.
Yeah, for sure. And you have Jose Martinez just on the bench, just ready to come in, throw freaking bows.
They brought all those guys
be on. That dude. Like, I thought they were going to get a goal. They didn't get it. It's okay. They'll go back to Philly and figure it out on the banks of the Delaware.
Chicago Fire this weekend. So that should be an experience.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Return home. Kind of. For a former home. Anyway, we'll end with this. Andrew's take of the week here. We'll start doing this on midweek. The defending champion should get an auto CCL berth. And he says the actual wording of that take is that it's absurd that the defending CCL champions don't get an auto berth.
They should they should feel lucky not to have that auto berth in. That you can see how much better they've been just to start the season without having
all the glory, none of the taxation.
And Anders is sitting back watching all these CCL teams go down and being like, yes, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. All right, let's get to match day 3. Dave, what's your game of the match day? Of course, you can watch on MLS Season Pass on Apple TV. You've got MLS 360 running you through all the simultaneous games, and then MLS Wrap Up into the night is on demand going into Sunday for you as well. There is one Sunday game we'll get to in a second, but David Goss's match of the weekend.
I'm going to go Charlotte-Atlanta, a little Southeast rivalry. It's the first game of the weekend, too, so you can totally focus on it, noon Eastern time on Saturday. You can sit down, you can watch it, you can take it in. You know the atmosphere is going to be off the charts. We have already seen Charlotte this year. There's going to be a level of emotion, obviously, at the beginning. Anton Walk's a big part of the Atlanta United community. Now they come to play Charlotte for the first time since his passing. We've seen both those teams really do a good job honoring him over the course of time. So that's going to be, I think, a huge factor in sort of the environment around this game. But these are two teams that they don't have any history, but the expectation is there'll be a rivalry there. And they haven't had a lot to go off of yet. And it feels like Atlanta is starting to find their feet as a club, and Charlotte needs to do that as well right now this season. So I think both teams have a ton riding on this game. And when you add in all of the atmosphere and all the energy around it, I think it could be a really special match.
Didn't Charlotte beat Atlanta at home in their first match last year? I remember that.
Not their first match because they lost to the Galaxy. Oh, no, not their first ever win was at Atlanta. Yeah. It was Ben Bender, I believe.
Okay. Yeah. Because I remember Miguel Angel Ramirez was comparing the salary differences between the two teams.
He liked doing that. It didn't work out too well.
Start of something really positive for him.
Yeah.
In Charlotte. What are some? Give me some tactical things. Give me some player-related things to look forward to. Yakumakis, maybe starting. What do you think?
It'd be huge if you could see him start. It'd be huge if Derek Etienne could start. Wiley is, there's a lot of promise with him, but he doesn't affect the game in any way. And every goal Atlanta has scored this season has been when Derek Etienne's on the field. So him coming off the bench has been a massive factor. He technically, I think, had the assist this weekend. Rossetto's shot was deflected. So I wouldn't give it, but that's not how it works. So I think both of those guys just hard running, affecting opponents, making life a little bit easier for Thiago Almada and maybe a Rossetto or an Araujo to pick up space. I think that's going to be a big part of this game for them. And then on the flip side for Charlotte, this is a game for if Westwood's going to be a guy in central midfield. Like, this Atlanta team's a team you can play through at times if you're on your game in central midfield. If Westwood can show up and be that player, this would be a time to show it, because otherwise, as I said, Dirk Jones played really well last week. Brandt Bronico played well the week before. I don't know how you hold those two out of the team much longer if you're not getting results.
Brandt Bronico at left back has been an interesting experience. Him versus Araujo. Let's see if that's what Latanzio goes with. But I want to see Swiderski underneath Enzo Copetti. I know that it's sort of a sign and like a symptom of their weakness at wing, that they're like, okay, what do we do? Let's push our best creative player to the wing, to right wing. But then Karol Swiderski is not goal dangerous, and he has fewer opportunities, I think, to actually affect the game. His cross to Copetti did lead to the goal, but that was really mostly it for him out there. So I'd like to see them find a way to have him be the guy central. We'll see if they can do that. But Miles Robinson Copetti is going to be an interesting matchup to watch in this one as well. Calen, what's your match of the day for match day 3?
I'm going to look at Cincinnati versus Seattle. I got to call the first Cincinnati match, the home opener, which was awesome. The atmosphere at the TQL Stadium was incredible. Like I'd never been there. I went actually before when they were in the USL at the old stadium, but to see the new one, I was blown away. Just the atmosphere, the facility, where it is downtown. Weeby, your famous March to the Match, you would have loved it, man. Just so good. But I think, like, as far as this one goes, to me, these are, like, Seattle has obviously, I think, been incredible to start the season. I think number 1 in the power rankings, if I'm last checked. I could be wrong on that.
Yeah, I think they are.
Okay.
Back where they belong. Let us know, Anders. I know you're monitoring this very closely.
But Cincinnati, I mean, I spoke to Pat Noonan leading up to their first match, and he said we're not going to surprise anybody. Like, I think last year it's hard to remember, but they were coming off 3 spoons, and just the difference in expectations this year and the difference in attitude around, like, the energy around the fan base and the expectations, I think, across the league of what the Cincinnati team could do, mainly heaped on pressure from Matt Doyle for picking them to win the Shield. That's a lot to carry. But I think in the case of this, on a real level, Cincinnati's, I mean, not going to have Seattle come in. Seattle will know that this team has the firepower. We haven't seen it quite fully connect. Brandon Vasquez hit the post in this last one. Brenner's come in. He's had a complicated offseason with the rumored move to Nottingham Forest falling apart, but had been back in good form from what I've heard in training, and, came in last game and played better. So I think that is still waiting to click, that front 3. And then I think Cincinnati's also gotten a lot better defensively. I think they wanted to get younger. They wanted to get more mobile. Mosquera coming in has helped. You have a full season of Miazga. You have Hagelin, who just re-signed, new contract. Wobodo right in front of him. I mean, I like that foundation, and then they can get those outside wing backs forward in the attack. So, yeah.
Gaddis or Arias? Well, who should they go with?
You got to go.
It's not who should. But Arias is injured. That's
I know. I just was trying to.
You got to go Tuck.
Get him on.
When in doubt.
Yeah.
It was a great honor for me to call Ray Gaddis subbing on. It took everything in my strength not to go like overboard with my
coming on MLS first ballot Hall of Famer legend.
I had to pull that one back. Yeah.
Tuck into this, folks. It's Ray Gaddis.
Yeah.
Speaking of this, the Calen Carr scouting report of the weekend, brought to you by Calen Carr. It's the game that you're going to broadcast this weekend, because you are a broadcaster now, Calen, and a great one at that. Really have enjoyed your games with Callum Williams on MLS Season Pass. NYCFC Inter Miami, 7:30 p.m. on Saturday. Give us a little taste of where your head's at there.
Well, I think it's 2 clubs that are sort of still finding themselves a little bit, but I think Inter Miami have finding themselves and still not a finished article. Joseph Martinez hasn't quite clicked yet. I don't know if he's fully fit in the way that we would expect to see Joseph, and Leo Campana not fit either to play. And so the idea was to play the both of them up top, and haven't been able to see that. But at the same time, they've got 6 points. Two games at home undefeated. It's really been the big shift, I think, has been in the back line, having that sort of solid pairing in the center back position. And then Drake Callender, who was up for goalkeeper of the year, I think a finalist last year, but has started off in really good form and has made some really important saves. So I like this Miami team. They're coming in with some good momentum, and NYCFC, so many changes in the offseason. Just go through any roster in Major League Soccer, take out your goalkeeper, take out your center back, take out your center midfielder, who's been the sort of like centerpiece of your lose another striker, have him go to Seattle. Like, they've taken literally the entire spine out of this team. And they're trying to put those pieces back. So you see Sands comes back in, and then getting Santi Rodriguez back on a permanent transfer will be big. I think he came in the last game, but is he ready to start? I don't know if he'll be ready to start at this point. I know they would want him to go as soon as possible. Sam's came off with a cramp. So I think both teams are kind of in flux, trying to figure it out on the fly. But Miami in the stronger place, just I think because of that back line right now, and the play at Calendar.
All right.
He's a Berkeley guy, I should mention.
I was going to say, the Cal guy to close it all out.
Funny how you didn't mention that when we were talking Austin Violeta and Hector Jimenez.
We had Nick Lima too. Yeah, I had my whole Cal.
A little choosy on that one.
I rep those guys.
I'm going LAFC Revs Sunday, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. You've got LAFC coming off a season opening win where they got their rangs, and the Revs, of course, are undefeated and are looking quite nice so far. But Ricky Ricardo hit us up and said, which undefeated, not just perfect team, and I'm going to go just perfect team, sorry, Ricky, would impress you the most and the least if they remain undefeated after match day 3 based on the opponent's level of play and unexpectedness? So I'll sort of preview LAFC Revs in that way. I think if the Revs stay undefeated, all 4 of the teams that are perfect so far, St. Louis, Seattle, Miami, and New England, are all on the road.
You're not giving LAFC in there, by the way? Because they are technically.
No.
Okay, that's fine.
No, I don't think so.
I think
it's got to be. Yeah, I think it's got to be 2 wins, and that's not LAFC's fault. We could say that they would have beat my Galaxy or however you want to describe that team, but they didn't because they didn't play them. I think the Reds
just getting triggered right.
Yes,
my Galaxy
going cross country. I've always respected Robbie Keane, Landon Donovan, and David Beckham as a trio, and the fact that sorry, Calen, I'll back away. I'll back away. If New England goes to LAFC after missing the playoffs with this sort of revamped center back pairing with Latif Blessing, LAFC's dude, in the midfield, and with a still uncertainty at center forward and wins, I think it's a signal that not that the Revs are back to being Supporter Shield record-setting Revs, but that the Revs have found like the equilibrium that they were missing last year. I think they're back on a good track, and they have super high-level talent, and now we have Heel and you have Dylan Barrero on either side. The Revs are going to be a problem in the East, and if they win this game, I'm going to be ultra convinced of that. The team that would prove the least to me if they won is Miami at New York City. I just think New York City is still, as you said, in sort of a to-be-determined zone. It's not, the players that are going to be crucial for them in the spine have just like re-arrived in Cincy and James Sands. We don't know who the 9 is going to be. It doesn't seem like Tyus Magno is ideal in that. And I think they've been incomplete, and Miami's been gritting it out as it is. Like, I know Phil Neville wants to be like, hey, we beat the number 1 and the number 2 team in the East last year. But like last year was a long time ago, dude. Montreal, you can't call them the number 2 team in the East for very much longer. Like, they're sitting down at the bottom. And Philly were distracted, and it's a good win. Don't get me wrong, it's a good win, but you didn't play them off the park. So, like, let's just pump the brakes a little.
So, you're not going to go St. Louis as the most impressive if they win?
If they go to Portland and get a win, I think that one's for me because Portland doesn't feel like a team that's going to beat themselves. Although the set piece defending maybe is there. This doesn't feel like a pass back team. Like, this feels like a team that. If the one thing we've seen over the course of Gio Savarese's time is that they're going to make you.
And you're saying that's the only way that St. Louis is going to.
I'm not saying it's
entering
the
lexicon.
I'm saying
pass back team. That is definitely.
I'm saying it's the way we've seen it happen so far, Calen. Okay. So we just need to see another model of what they can do. And I think Portland's a team like historically they play pretty good against pressing teams. They've given trouble to like LAFC a ton over the past. And they have individuals that can win matches depending on who's healthy and who's available. So I think if St. Louis was to go 3 straight weeks, 2 of them on the road, and the emotion and experience that they've been going through, if they were to go and win in Portland, I think that would be the big defining win of the weekend.
And it's kind of crazy that we didn't say Seattle going to Cincinnati, given sort of how Cincy has been hyped and what they were last year. But maybe that's just an indication of what we think of Seattle, right?
Yeah, we already know who Seattle are. I'm not concerned about that. If St. Louis beats Portland, I will be very impressed. The one thing I would say is it's just hard for me to put too much stock in anything this early in the season. It just takes more time to figure out. I've already been impressed by what St. Louis has done. I'm with you on New England. If you beat LAFC, that to me would be significant. And New England didn't play their best in their first match, but they showed they can win late with the Kessler goal in a tough environment. I really like, you guys have gone on this already, which has been awesome. Noel Buck, he was really cool to watch in person. I thought had another strong performance, got a yellow card that had him come off. I think Bruce is playing young players, wants to play them, give them a chance, but I think a yellow card in the second half is still a little much to leave him on. But he looked really good he can play a bunch of different positions. We've seen him as a dual 6. This time he played more as sort of like the outside, like a Shudler in an 8 position. He's played before as an 11. He can kind of go all over the pitch, which I really like. Latif was amazing, but I think Barrero also stood out to me. I haven't seen anybody like that. I mean, since Tajon Buchanan, I mentioned it in the match, just like the ability to run at a guy one-on-one. He turned Dorsey twice. I think once his back was turned, he just went exactly drove at that back shoulder. And you could tell a couple times he just like would get the ball, even if he laid it off, he was going to roll it or do a little no-look back pass to somebody. And I was like, okay, he's starting to feel it right here. You could feel that starting to come, which for Houston's perspective was like, trouble warning, and they left Dorsey on an island, didn't give him any help, which I think teams will start to recognize. If you're one-on-one with Barrero, you have to bring help. But yeah, I like this New England team right now, and still questions up front, but Bobby Wood looked really good in this last one. And if they go to LAFC, that would be the standout for me.
And I think the point of that too is that like Charlotte hasn't won, Houston hasn't won. So those are good wins. The performances were good. The results were good. They showed signs. But if you go to LAFC and do it, then it's like, oh, light bulb goes off a little bit of there's a different level that you can reach. So we'll see. Full game previews are like every single game. There's a solid.
Is LAFC going to give Latif his ring when he comes back?
I don't know.
They have to present him with the ring. Yeah.
That's a good question.
The fans are going to love Latif being there.
Yeah.
He is the fan favorite, I think, in LA.
That would be cool.
Full listings of the game, MLSsoccer.com. You can watch the games, MLS Season Pass. There's full previews for these. Calen, I know you and I were doing these today with Jillian and with Calen Kyle, and I think, Dave, you did with Steve Cangelosi as well this morning. So 5-6 minutes on every single match. So if you want to dig in, go do that as well. All on MLS Season Pass. I have some news here we can go through, then get to the mailbag. The Galaxy look like they're going to sign another outside back from South America. I don't have the information in front of me, but we'll get to it when it arrives. Dave, is that the right move for this Galaxy team? They're headed to Sporting Kansas City this weekend.
Don't do that, Weeby. Don't be a host guy. You know I don't think it is. Don't give me the open-ended
I'm just trying to put
question.
You. Yeah, I'm just trying to put you in a situation to succeed.
Yeah, it sounds like they're going to sign an under-22 signing at right back from Brazil, and now they're looking at a young South American left back as well. And I can't tell you I'm an expert on these players, so I don't totally want to speak out of turn. But historically, what we've seen for young defenders coming to this league is it takes time to settle in. This league's fairly physical, direct, and you end up facing off against a lot of players who have experience in this league being successful, like AKA Paul Arriola. With the weaknesses that we see for the Galaxy, this doesn't seem like a solution. So it might improve your talent on your roster, but is attacking from the left back spot the issue for the LA Galaxy? Like Raheem Edwards has been one of the better attacking output left backs in Major League Soccer, and obviously you had to replace Julian Araujo, so that one makes sense. It just, all of the problems they had coming out of last year and into this year reared their ugly head against FC Dallas. And so I don't know that these are the moves that solve them. And they cannot sign players from outside of MLS after this window closes. So the work you're putting in right now, you wonder if that's the best place to focus and put your resources.
Speaking of, and this could be, I don't know. I haven't been scouting Grasshoppers. I don't know about Suwon Blue Wings and South Korean youth national team prospects, but Tom Bogert says that Minnesota United are in advanced talks to sign Jung-Sang Bin from Wolverhampton on a permanent deal. He's 20 years old to be a U22 signing. They definitely need more in the attack. I don't know if this is going to be what sort of solves their post or maybe post Reynoso woes. They're back in action this weekend, though, after winning in the opening weekend. They're hosting the New York Red Bulls. So check that one out, 8:30 p.m. Eastern on MLS Season Pass. All right, let's get into the mailbag. Oh, wow. I didn't put this in, but Anders did. Troya Juan Kenobi hit us up and said, 2 games in, and CF Montreal is definitely a candidate for the spoon. Is there anything I can take solace in this year? Is it just grow the kids and hopefully we'll be good 2 to 3 seasons from now? Montreal is at Nashville, and Hani Mukhtar, I hope, will start. He played 45 minutes.
Are they at Nashville?
Season. Yeah, they're at Nashville.
So 3 away games to start the year. I assume this is because they don't want to play at the Big O and the weather in Montreal.
Yeah, I would guess.
So that, by the way, that's your one reason you shouldn't be so worried is it's hard to win away in MLS. They have not played a home game. They also don't have Joel Waterman, who is a massive part of what should be a strength for them, which is their backline. They've now lost Pantomas for a little while. George Campbell's not available. So there is space on this roster for them to improve without just
and they haven't given up. They haven't given up a ton so far. Defense has not been the issue.
But it has to be perfect for them.
I know. Well, that is the issue, right?
There's no room for error. They are not a spoon team. This team is better than a spoon team. So that's because those players are that good. Because if you don't have to start Sam Piet at center back, your midfield is good enough to contend with most teams in MLS. They're going to struggle to score goals, zero question about it. They will not be the only MLS team that does that. They will be a better defensive team than the other teams that struggle to score goals.
Poor Sam Piet and his leg muscles. Just too many sprints, man. He's like, I'm not, all this straight line running. Had to leave in like the 73rd minute of their loss against Austin. With
another
cramps.
proud member of the Tuck community.
Yeah, Le Tuck, if we're to be accurate on this one. And Romo Kyoto left early as well. No clue if he's going to be available or if Sam Piet will, if they're just like cramps or just some muscle issues early on.
Freemason toy.
Yeah, no minutes so far. Like, what's going on there? I don't know.
Well, you got to save him for the big games.
Yeah, I guess so. Meanwhile, like I said, Hani Mukhtar may be back for Nashville. We shall see. Jason Kuminga in South Korea. Wow, that's awesome. From Incheon. Which U17, this is for you only, Dave, which U17 USMNT CONCACAF championship team members would you put money on to get the first call up to an actual MLS game this year? Thoughts, Doyle or Goss? Love that it was not directed at me or you, because like I would stare into the camera and blink.
So I would say from this,
you only go to a Frisco resident. Yeah.
I think the obvious answer would be Cruz Medina. We've talked about him a lot. He is a special player. He's considered the highest prospect here. San Jose feels like a team that wants to promote players like that. And obviously Luchi Gonzalez has experience pushing players like that into a team. So he's probably the most obvious answer. The other ones I'd go with are Micah Burton from Austin. He's a center forward for the U.S. He's played out wide a lot for Austin. Again, they started Owen Wolf in a game last year out of position just to get him experience and to fill spots we've talked about. I think just now, the lack of depth in some spots, in some ways for Austin, they're challenging on a lot of different fronts. He would be like their first player really coming through. So those would be the obvious ones to me, I think, because U17 should be a step away from playing. Like these players should not be in a first team this year. And then I throw in Brian Romero and Charlotte, who I'm just a huge fan of, and do everything center mid, kind of in like a Nico Ladero, Mauricio Pereira role of a chance creator, but does the work off the ball. And that's sort of how you get yourself on the field.
Jason, with a little bit of dessert for me, Weeby's Golden Boot team gets crushed because his injury list is longer than his actual lists. And he has also spelled Weeby in a way, surprisingly, I've never seen before. We've got a W-E-I-B-I-E.
Man, when I used to do, you'd be out or you'd be in, I don't even know. When I used to do the write-ups and the titles for the show, I would Google MLSsoccer.com Andrew Weeby 100% of the time and cut and paste because I just couldn't remember.
Yeah, this is a very creative spelling, and I appreciate that from you, Jason. Thank you so much. Did you have something for us there, Calen, or have you backed away quietly?
No, I like the San Jose shout. I mean, especially with, I think part of when you look at young prospects, you have to look at who is leading the first team. And for me, Luchi Gonzalez has proven over time that he's going to play young players. So the Cruz Medina shout, I think, is a good one. Oscar Verhoeven, I think, is a left back there. I watched them play at the MLS Next Fest in Coachella, which, by the way,
Calen out
not
there
a
with
bad
the
gig.
clipboard.
Not a bad gig to get called up to for that one. So
what crest did you have on your polo?
I had MLS Greats. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one to have. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah,
well done.
MLS Greats. Yeah.
Wow. They're bringing the MLS Greats out to Coachella now.
Yeah. No. It was big time. There was like a careers and soccer summit. There was a bunch of different things for a lot of reasons to be there for the vets, and not a bad place to spend the winter time.
Yeah. Hey, come on out to Omaha, Nebraska for the.
I was like, Frisco, Goss, you got this one? Okay, cool. But yeah, I do think sometimes who's leading the first team often decides like who's going to be able to make that transition. When I asked Luchi a long time ago of like, how do you know when a guy's ready? He was very honest with me. And he's like, you don't. You just put them in and you see what you find out. You have to find out. You could think as much as he's ready as possible. You can go through all of the different steps, and I think they're going to take him through that. But ultimately, you won't know until they get in there. And I don't know. I could see. I want to see what happens from this academy over the next couple of years.
So Matt, what you're saying is you don't think Seattle's going to play Chris Aquino and Stuart Hawkins probably immediately this year?
I don't know. They've played young. But we see a 15-year-old or 6. What was he?
Obed.
Obed, yeah. CCL final. I mean, they'll play guys. I think it's become more of a
played the back right out of him, man.
That's been a big shift. Like even going to New England and seeing the way they're using their academy now is like, wait, what? Like Bruce has like 4 academy players he's trying to use and bring into the first team and play, and like
they have done a crazy amount of work rebuilding the image of that academy and like bringing players in. It's wild.
Yeah.
It can be done.
All right, Matt in the Cream City. Legend hits us up all the time. Gentle people, good day to you about those playoffs. I actually think they'll be more intense than last year. You're still going to want to be a top 4 in your conference, so you get the 2 home games in the first round, and you're still going to want to be top 7, so you avoid the play-in game. Opening up spots 8 and 9 adds another incentive to the bottom half of the table. The A spot also gets to host, so you get at least 2 postseason hosts if you win. It will almost be as intense as the perversity that is a battle to avoid the R word that we shall not say. No, I'm just kidding. Relegation. And best of 3 in the first round against a conference rival you've already kicked and stepped on and shoulder barged twice this year. Now you get to do it at least 2 more times. That should provide some memorable postseason moments. And the 1 seed isn't forced to sit a week. That will enable the 1 seed to maintain match sharpness comparable to the 8 seed or 9 seed that will have played the extra game. All in all, I think the playoff system will reinforce the goal of winning during the regular season, and we shall see. Thank you for the email, Matt in the Cream City. And now we have 2 teams to assign to finish this show. My guy Sergio, who dropped in the Twitter DMs, says, "Hey Andrew, big fan of the podcast. Don't have much time to watch the games on the weekend, but I need a team to follow. My name is Sergio Mendoza, born and raised in Napa Valley. Yes, I make wine for a living. I love a Pinot Noir. Me too. Me too. I hate scary movies. Me too. I love seafood. Not me too. Not a big seafood guy. Big Club America fan since I was very young. I play as a right back on a Sunday league team. Very Bobby Warshaw of him. I love running. Definitely prefer cold weather over the heat. Please help me find a team."
So my first instinct here is to go with Seattle. I think you look at it, you're a Club America fan, so you like to win trophies. You have seafood. If you go up for games, you've got wine as well.
Yeah.
I think it's a team.
Alex Roldan.
Exactly.
Easy. Cold weather of the heat. Very, very unlikely it's going to get very hot for you up there.
I wouldn't describe
better for the grapes.
You'd never describe the Seattle area, I think, as a scary movie. So you got that going for you as well.
Really?
It's a comfy place.
I feel like
it's a cozy spot.
A little scary.
You know what's
perhaps.
funny? The other one I could think of is Toronto. It's like the Seattle-Toronto connection here. He's got to pick between the 2. You've got the Italians, have a great taste for wine, the cold weather, a bit of refinement. Richie Larea, another good right back choice to be able to build around.
They do have like a boom or bust Club America vibe to them as well.
Yeah,
they're gonna spend money.
Time signings,
potential kind of chaotic in moments.
Turn through coaches.
Yeah. So those are options there.
There's
Sergio.
No Club America former player to really connect you with because there isn't really anyone.
I mean, Chicago Fire, Cuauhtémoc Blanco, just the history you could go through. The iconic players on MLS Season Pass, just like really dig deep into that.
I'm actually glad you said that because my first thought was Claudio Lopez in KC.
Just a legendary Kansas City Wizard / Colorado Rapid.
I forgot he went to Colorado.
Oh, he did. For sure he did. And Anders is dropping Washington wine scene notes in the comments right now. Eastern Washington is a huge worldwide wine-producing place.
I was in Italy and people were talking to me about is it Walla Walla Valley? Is that right?
Apparently. That sounds right.
Yes.
That's talking San Jose. Just, keep it.
It seems like that's not an option. Otherwise, we wouldn't be at it.
Akapo just got a goal from right back, right? He just got the winner?
Yeah.
And he's there, the wine country, seafood.
Yeah, that's too easy. I like the way we've been doing these where it's just you guys have been pairing people all over the place. I like it.
We're a little bit like soccer sommeliers, you might say.
Oh,
wow. You like that? Yeah. Doing a little pairing?
Yeah.
The proper pairing?
All right, don't run too far with this.
I was just a little bit too proud of it, wasn't I? All right, Chris Carter finishes us off here. Hi, guys. Huge fan of what you do, which is just BS about soccer for 3 hours.
Chris Carter, big fan of yourself as well. Congratulations on your Hall of Fame wide receiver career.
Yes. He says he's a big-time soccer fan, looking to root for an MLS team this season with his girlfriend. Once we have a team picked, we plan on road tripping to their stadium, buying jerseys, etc. They're going all in. They're not playing games.
This is how people become. I'm so blown away. This is how people become fans.
But Calen, Why are you an Arsenal fan?
Thierry Henry.
So how old were you?
I don't know. Young. Long time.
You watched one guy play soccer one time, and now you're connected to a team from halfway around the world, right?
And we don't out your age here, but you might even be 40.
It could be. Potentially. It's a rumor.
So that it is kind of how it happens sometimes for people. The reason I will say that I like pairing people not with just the local team is you become like we've gotten all these emails, right, from fans in South Korea and Japan and England and France and Austria and Hungary, where it's like the connection actually becomes like to the community, and it becomes even stronger because you kind of have to struggle through something.
Yeah, you've got to effort to be a part of it. You've really got to put the time in. Anyway, look, for Chris Carter, fun fact, he holds the record at his high school for the most own goals by a soccer player. He had 2 own goals. He's 32 years old now.
I already know where this is going.
Has not been able to live that one down. So that one screams DC United. Own goal led them in goals one year, so just gonna throw that out there. My girlfriend and I are both in the New Jersey, New York area. I'm gonna back up DC United now because I feel like it's like a 4-hour drive, but maybe not long enough. But maybe it is. Maybe we'll get. I've been to some Red Bulls games.
Okay.
So you could have been to that and have like looked eye to eye to your arch rival. We attended an Austin FC game together last year during a road trip. Clearly, big road trippers are Chris and his girlfriend.
Love it.
I appreciate a crazy playing style. Man City and Barca possession play bores me.
Oh, so
I love
Austin
following
is off the board. I thought Austin was going to be the leader.
Pulled it right away. I love following a team's social media accounts, and I appreciate a witty one with good content. I have a mustache. Watch out, Tom. I have tattoos. Big flex, I know. I live and breathe sports. You can find me on my couch most weekends binging all the sports.
But so New York, New Jersey, likes chaos, been to Red Bull games, clearly not a fan.
Yeah, it sounds like it didn't.
But he doesn't want the Barca.
He wants the road trip. He wants the road trip.
I think St. Louis here. St. Louis is it's
interesting.
He doesn't want to do the Barca thing. It's not Red Bull, but it's got some of that, to it. As far as their style of play, it's a long road trip. The excitement. Look at the atmosphere at those games.
I mean, I did this road trip literally weeks ago, so I can tell you, you're going to go through the beautiful confines of Pennsylvania and Indiana and other such hits as Missouri. It's not the most engaging road trip.
You should do like an Apple Maps, like a tour for him.
There we go. You could hit so you could hit, though, if you're going to road trip to St. Louis, you could hit Philly you could hit Red Bull Arena. Like you could hit Philly. We went through Columbus. You could hit Columbus. Yeah. If you could hit Columbus, you can go out of your way just a little bit to go to Cincinnati. So you could turn this into a whole, people used to write the books where I went to every Major League Baseball stadium in a year. Chris could have a project on his hands here. And then
let me throw 2 other ones out there that aren't ideal or great. One would be RSL. I think RSL fits a decent amount of that. And it is a long trip, so you could get a lot in between New York and New Jersey and Utah. The other one, and it's not a great road trip, but you could do it often, is kind of the Revs. Like, you got a decent amount of individual play. I feel like there's good mustache energy on the New England Revolution.
I remember
historically. And
Charlie
currently
had a mustache up there, I think, at a certain
point.
Did he?
Yeah.
I was going to throw out also Nashville. We've got mustache.
But Nashville is not crazy playing style. That's like the opposite.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
If you think Man City and Barca,
I was thinking anti-Man City and Barca.
Montreal?
I guess they do now with Hernan Losada.
Yeah, not far enough though.
I think the St. Louis one's a good one, but I don't want to assign everyone St. Louis.
It's like, listen, I think someone had a really good idea about St. Louis. I don't remember who said it, but I think maybe we should all go with it.
No, I said maybe we shouldn't because it's so easy. We already assigned the Oklahoma father-son duo.
But we don't like the Revs. Montreal, we're saying no.
I mean, Philadelphia, I guess,
but it's not a road trip.
Yeah, that's true. You would have to drive. I guess you could train. Technically.
By the way, the way this mic is set up, it looks like you have a mustache. You can't see any of the rest of your beard. It just looks like a straight mustache.
I was on a podcast with bearded folks for long enough that I decided I also would try to grow a beard. And on that note, I think we're assigning St. Louis and calling it a day.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening to yet another scintillating extra time. We're so happy that CCL is back to awe us in all its myriad ways. Enjoy match day 3. We'll be back on Monday to break it all down with Calen Kyle. I'll start saying it's gonna, like I said, exactly. We're gonna start doing this. Calen with a K, and big thanks to Calen with a C for being back. It's wonderful to have him back with us, and thank you to you, Dave, and thanks to Anders and all of you listening. We'll see you on Monday. Adios.